No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, people, so word on the street is Shonen Jump got some new manga. Now, in case you ain't here, it's actually true, fam. It's actually true indeed. As of recent, y'all know there was a few cancellations yet again of some very beloved new faces on the block, such as Red Hood, Neru, Way of the Martial Artist, and a lot of people were really upset. So I always got to come into these videos fresh off of that wound of Shonen Jump, dropping that axe and getting rid of brand new, potentially awesome series, and say like, yo, be very cautious when entering, okay? Be very cautious when starting these new battle shonen, or in just particular any type of shonen for that matter, when it comes to Jump, because this series, it could last 500 chapters, it could last 15 chapters. Like, you just never know, and it all really depends on the volume sales, but especially what the Japanese readers of Shonen Jump feel when it comes to this series. If within 10 weeks you see that it is in the bottom of the TOC, meaning that it's in the back of the magazine, which, in case you don't know, I report on those, definitely subscribe and all that jazz so that you could keep up to date with what's going on, then you know probably it's going to be out of here. Now, if it's not the case, if it's not doing poorly and the readers are actually rocking with it, then it could last a long time. But ultimately, we got a new face on the block called Ayashimon, and it's by the same author as Hell's Paradise, which Hell's Paradise is very highly regarded, and I was kind of shocked to see this because Hell's Paradise was made on the Jump Plus app, and ultimately that series, it ended recently, but it has an anime in production and it got a whole bunch of other stuff coming for it, and it hasn't even come out yet, and the author's already on to his next big work. Like, this isn't, you know, one shot that he just dropped and he's waiting for Hell's Paradise or anything like that. Like, he's already moved on to a whole brand new title. Now, it could be that Jump is in search of like some talented artists, and they're like, yo, you did great on the Plus app, come over here, let's do like what we did with Chainsaw Man. And speaking of Chainsaw Man, a lot of people have been telling me like, yo, Fornev, we know you're the biggest Chainsaw Man fan out there. We understand this. You put everyone onto it, but you got to check this out because it's kind of like Chainsaw Man. It has the same vibes as the beginning, and I'm like, okay, you caught my interest. You say Chainsaw Man, you might catch Fornev checking out what's going on right here. So I checked it out. First chapter, as of the recording of this video, there's only one chapter, Ayashimon, and very, very interesting start to say the least, and I'm very curious about the author of this manga, same author again as Hell's Paradise, because there was a lot of references to older series. So I gotta say right now that hands down, the author of this series is either a very older gentleman of some sorts, because the titles that he's referencing in this one alone is like Kinukimon, which is like a older series in Jump, Kenshiro, Fist of the North Star, another older one, JoJo's, which it's had its revival recently, but again, that also could be interpreted as it's an older series as well, and Dragon Ball and things like that. He's not referencing like, you know, what a newer, you know, a younger kid that just got into Jump would be referencing, like, oh, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. He's referencing shit that happened anywhere from the 80s to the 90s and stuff like that, or began at the very least and ran through. So I'm like, okay, maybe this author, he's either a very, very cultured man and like he might be young, but he just knows what's good and how the old generation was popping, or it might be a little bit of a, maybe he's in his 30s, somewhere around there, and he understands what Jump is all about and he'd been through it and he knows the classics and all that jazz. Whatever the case may be, a lot of references in this one, a lot to older classic shonen, to the point where there's even a move that is done representing from an older classic shonen. But let's get started. What is this all about? You're like, Fornev, fam, what are you doing? It's like 4 minutes in and you still talking. What is this about? Well, the chapter starts off, and apparently the chairman of a famous Yakuza gang, I believe they're like the Enma, if I'm not mistaken, that's their name, Enma, he recently passed away, and there's like a big funeral, and it's very interesting because it's taking Yakuza, which is something that's been, you know, commonly used for the most part in storytelling and stuff like that coming out of Japan, but these Yakuza are all monsters. Like in the very first double spread page alone, you see there's like an octopus looking man, a skull looking man, like a lot of creatures together, essentially monsters as Yakuza. So seemingly the shtick, or one of the things about the story, is that it's a bunch of Yakuza, but they all have either monster transformations or they're actually secretly monsters to begin with. And apparently on the day of the death of this guy, monsters around the world gathered. It was like, a very big deal. He was a very big shot caller, so to speak. So I'm already imagining that this group called Enma, for starters, is going to be probably the main group that is to either be around or to fight or whatever the case may be. But also then the guy that's doing the wake, he has like the number 8 in his eye. That caught my interest as well. I'm like, there's a lot to take in with this first chapter. Honestly, it's like it's between a simplistic chapter and a lot of info at the same time. I felt like it was a very nice blend for a first chapter, because alone that first double spread, there's so much to gather. Like, so there's a wake, there's Yakuza that are doubling as monsters. They're looking for the next chairman. It's a group called Emma. Like, a lot to take in. And the fact that this is apparently a critical issue for all Ayashimon. So immediately you got to think, okay, so Ayashimon must be monsters that are in disguise as Yakuza. That's what you gotta imagine why they would be called that, because that's what is all surrounding this whole first couple pages. And then we cut into the main character, and he's like beating the shit out of punching bags, and he's like really freaking strong. He's like training or fighting or something like that, and you're like, wait, okay, so here we go. This is the main MC. What is his name? And I ain't gonna lie, when I heard his name, if you're a One Piece fan, you know what time it is. You know what I'm about to say. You know what's going on here. His name is Maruo Kaido.
百獣のカイド
Okay? Like, how badass would it be if 3 years from now we're saying, yo, the top manga in the world right now, one of the top manga from Shonen Jump, the main character's name is Kaido. Oh my god, Luffy will be quaking in his boots right now. Oh my god, the worst generation wouldn't know how to handle themselves. Kaido? Really? Like, yo. Alright, I see what you're doing, Maruo. Kaido. I'm calling him Kaido no matter what. I don't care if everybody refers to him as his other name. No, he is Kaido to me, hands down. But apparently, he is looking for work and down bad on his luck. And immediately, that's where I'm thinking, okay, everybody told me it's going to remind me of Chainsaw Man. That's how the beginning of Chainsaw Man, very first chapter. So in case people are like, you're spoiling, just go read the first chapter. You'll understand what I'm talking about. That he's looking for work and he's down bad. He can't get any work. He's trying to get money. And you're like, well, shit, like the difference between him and Denji, though, is very drastically different. Like Chainsaw Man, if we're comparing these two, automatically I gotta say that they're different. Like that's really where the comparisons, in my opinion, go together. And maybe one other thing in the chapter, because aside from that, Chainsaw Man feels a little bit more, I don't want to say depressing, but more to a down, realistic, but at the same time, not really. Like, it's weird to say, but this just feels a little bit more comical than what Chainsaw Man. Like, I felt bad for Denji. This dude, I'm just like, well, damn, he's down bad on his luck, but there's so much endless possibilities because he's a really strong dude. And the thing about it is, too, is with all the jobs that he's doing is that he's too freaking strong. So that automatically, if I'm going to throw another comparison in there, is going to remind me of like a Saitama or a Mosh from like Marshall and stuff like that. That's what that's going to remind me of, like a character that is just so freaking OP that he can't even do the simplest of jobs because he's just ridiculously strong, like abnormal. So that, I guess, is going to kind of give me even a comparison of Yuji Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen. And again, I'm just giving examples. I'm not saying that it's any of that. I'm just seeing what's potentially inspiration, or just in general trying to connect some dots to things that might actually get your interest as well, because I gotta throw in there, I haven't said it yet, I really like this first chapter. And he's fantasizing about being able to just fight all day, because apparently he's a meathead that just loves to fight. And he's like, imagine if a girl comes running through and she's being chased by thugs and I could fight all day. And that's exactly what happens. I wonder, maybe he has some powers to be able to manifest his thoughts. And he essentially starts whooping some tail, these Yakuza members that are chasing this young girl. He starts just kicking their ass and is like, okay, here's the introduction, because the girl says, hey, my name is Urara, and yeah, I want you to work for me. It's not necessarily a job per se, but yeah, I want you to accept the Sakazuki Cup, because apparently she's a fully fledged gang boss, which, okay, this is what we're doing. This young little girl is a fully fledged gang boss, which means that this guy right here, he's going to be involved in Yakuza monsters and such, because if this is going to be the connection, and this is who's going to get him in. And this is also another comparison, I guess you would say, to Chainsaw Man. Is, again, the main character Chainsaw Man was looking for money, trying to find some work of some sorts, and then he runs into Makima. This guy, he runs into Urara, and that's like his Makima, I guess you would say, although I have no idea what Urara's motives or what she's trying to do here. But I guess that's for me, and I guess like the devilish monsters, where all the comparisons are coming from. But still, I feel like this manga is more laid back and more comical and more just in general in a different vibe. It's a lighter tone to me than what Chainsaw Man was. But I had to throw that in there because a lot of people are throwing the comparisons, and it's like, I see them, but it's not on point with the same feel as Chainsaw Man. But apparently the main character, Kaido, despite the fact that this sounds really good, he doesn't want to be a dumb Yakuza. He's like, man, I'm supposed to be the main character. I'm supposed to be a manga protagonist, fam. That's my dream. Not to be some boring ass Yakuza. That ain't my style. Now I'm saying, not me, fam. You ain't gonna catch this one right here doing that. Nah. And we get even a little flashback of when he was younger and the heroes that he wanted to be like. And again, I gotta say, whoever's writing this, the same author again as Hell's Paradise, whatnot, this is an older gentleman of sorts, because dude references like, yo, oh man, when I was younger, I used to watch Dragon Ball, Kinukiman, JoJo's, Kenshiro, all of these older titles from the 80s and 90s. And again, I'm happy to see it because, you know, I'm a 30-year-old man. I'm like, yo, this dude, he knows what's up. But I feel like there's gotta be somebody that's older or a very cultured manga enthusiast that is writing this jazz, because, yo, he's referencing like classics. He ain't referencing stuff that is classics too, but more newer stuff. Like, again, somebody that is like a 20-something-year-old might have just said, oh man, you know, when I was younger, I wanted to be like Naruto Uzumaki, Ichigo Kurosaki, or dare I say it, yo, imagine somebody coming through like, man, when I was younger, I used to want to be like Deku. Oh my god, fam, I'd feel really old right now. Like, Deku's still going, and when he was younger, he used to train, and by 7, he was able to smash boulders. Something is off. This is not a normal kid, okay? Like, I gotta throw that in there as well. Like, similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, how Yuji was like really incredibly abnormally athletic and stuff in the beginning. This guy is way too, like, come on, at 7 you're smashing boulders? No, my friend, you're not just a normal human. You're not gonna convince me of that. I know maybe that's a plot twist down the road for like 200 chapters later. You're not normal, fam. You ain't splitting boulders at 7 years old in a kind of grounded, like, oh, this is supposed to be reality, and then freak shit is happening all around. No, you've been a freak since you were 7. You're smashing boulders. What are you doing? And you can tell that he's so defeated at this point, because he starts to accept that, yeah, needing strength isn't necessary. That life ain't a manga at the end of the day. Manga's manga. This is life. Like, he's just really down bad at this point, that even his dreams is essentially coming true. Like, yo, I could kick Yakuza ass, and he's still like, nah, man, I gotta accept it is what it is. I gotta put the weights down. I gotta stop smashing shit. It's over. However, some Yakuza arrive again, this time to rip them up, and like, they're starting to mutate. Some of their face turns into like a monstrosity, like a monster face, and I'm like, okay. And Urara is shocked. She's like, yo, boy, I thought you was actually like one of us. I thought you was an Ayashimon. Like, you're a normal human is what you're telling me right now? You're in trouble, fam. Or at the very least, she thought, fam, because you got the wrong one right here. You got the wrong one. All you did right now is get him inspired and hype. He's like, oh shit, I'm being thrusted into being the MC right now. This can't be happening. Like, you're getting him hype. You're getting him gassed up. Which is kind of crazy, because like, there's monster Yakuza surrounding him, ready to rip him to pieces. And he's like, please don't get my hopes up. Please don't tell me this is true. This is so awesome right now. Like, where they do that at? Oh, I know where they do that at. Ayashimon, Kaido. And then something that I caught that I was kind of like, that seems like a plot twist for down the road per se. And again, this is something that differentiates it from other series, where we see a flashback of apparently his father was seemingly abusive. The main character's father, Kaido, was seemingly abusive, and when he was younger, he whipped his ass, and he felt like it was pretty easy to kick his ass. And he was like, damn, my pops was supposed to be a final boss, and I whipped him that easy. Like, this sucks. So again, we're getting a little more a lot of characterization, if you think about it. Like, that's something that molded him, I'm imagining, of, yo, my father was abusive, and I whipped his ass when I was little. That's how beastly I am, but yeah, he got to move over. So I guess that's also something to note, that it might actually have formed who he is as a character, but it might not necessarily weigh him down completely, because, hey, we got rid of that in the first chapter. Like, I was abused by my father, but I whipped his ass. Let's keep going. And then that double spread we see of the main character picking up the freaking car. I'm like, oh, wow, man. I had no idea, fam. And I got like 4 volumes of Hell's Paradise sitting like right here somewhere. Hold on. Right somewhere right here. It's like right next to the Chainsaw Man volumes. And I've never opened them up. I'm ashamed of myself right now, because this shit looks freaking awesome, and it's the same author, man. And then another freaking humanoid horseman looking shit challenges Kaido's like, yo, let's have a battle of the souls right here. You think you some hot shit? Let's go. And right here, this is where another reference, and a big reference for me personally, because I remember it like it was yesterday when I experienced it. Hands down, this scene was straight out of Blood Lad for me. Blood Lad, I'll never forget when the character, because he was a massive otaku. He loved anime and manga, and he was very heavily like, Goku was like a god to him, and he emulated the Kamehameha that's pretty much what Kaido does right here. He's like, yo, oh, I bet I'm the MC of here. This is my manga right here. I'm going to whip out my special move. And he tries doing a Kamehameha, and they even put an editor's note. This is not the Kamehameha, because he basically just punches dude's head off. It's not no beam or nothing, but still kind of reminds me of Bloodlad when, you know, the main character, I think his name was Spaz, he like does a Kamehameha, except that was actually a Kamehameha. This was just like, he's just a freaking freak of nature and punches the horseman's head off. I was like, oh. And following whipping every Yakuza's behind, basically he accepts Urara's proposal, and he's like, well, there's no cup here, so what are we gonna do? They make a pact in blood, and they drink each other's blood, and right here, I'm also calling it foreshadowing. This is what's going to mutate him from just being a normal human, or he already isn't a normal human, and her blood is going to unlock his true potential down the road. I'm calling that as well. Like, that kind of makes sense. And she's like, from now on, you call me older sister. We're going to Shinjuku. That's one day where I hope to rule. And over here in Shinjuku, when we got beef, we do 1v1. We don't do none of that other. We ain't jumping nobody. Like, we're just gonna do straight mano a mano. It's 1v1 duels that decides beef. And I ain't gonna lie, I really like this guy to the point that he's there. Wait. We settle beef 1v1? And he repeats it over and over. We settle beef 1v1? We settle beef 1v1? Oh my god, say it one more time. Urara. Say it again. Hold on. We settle beef. How do we do it? Oh, 1v1? Yeah, baby. And she's like, oh, he's a kid on Christmas. And what a fantastic chapter. What a first great chapter with a whole blend of different things in there. Like, I just referenced like how many different things. One Punch Man, Blood Lad, Chainsaw Man, a love for the 80s of Kenshiro, JoJo's Bizarre. Like, this guy is freaking awesome with this manga. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I want to see Kaido at the top. Like, I don't know if Luffy will allow it. Maybe One Piece come and be like, nah, we gotta stop this right now. No Kaido's up here. But this was a great first chapter. A lot of potential. I'm not gonna say it's the next big thing, because I gotta calm down on that, because at the end of the day, then all of a sudden 15 chapters from now, despite the fact that the West might love it, Japan might be like, no. And then we get axed and we assed out like fat bitches in bikinis, you know what I'm saying? But I'm curious what you guys think. If you read this first chapter of Ayashimon, I know I gave you basically a play-by-play of it, but yeah, I had to dissect it. It was freaking insane. What are your thoughts on it? If you haven't read it and you just checked out my first impression and my breakdown of the first chapter, how did you feel about it? What do you think about the main character, Kaido? What do you think about the plot so far, the setups? Do you think that this guy that did also Hell's Paradise is a really interesting writer, considering he's a newbie, per se, to Jump? And he's referencing all these classic, iconic manga. Where do you think the story is going to go? And are you going to continue checking it out? Do you think Ayashimon will be here 3 years from now? Or in 3 months it'll be gone? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of this story. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and I'm rooting for you, Kaido. Ayashimon, it might be some heat, I'm just saying. Have an awesome one.
To find me.